one of my Facebook friends sent me an interesting picture that I have for you guys. Remember in my last video about Laquan McDonald, and I spoke about this guy. I'm not sure if he's a man, a boy. He looks like he's pretty young, probably about 16, 17. He was staring the police officer down, basically having a staring contest. He also eventually started blowing the whistle in the officer's face. He was yelling at the officer, cussing at him, all kind of stuff. And somehow he wound up on Fox News and across different news platforms across the country. Just somehow he wound up on the news. I'm not sure if it was a coincidence, happenstance. I'm not sure what that was. But the picture he sent me is before you. Now, what you're looking at is this guy named Lamon Reccord. That's the staring guy. And on the left side of this picture, you have him with Karen Lewis of Chicago. Now, I know a little bit about Chicago politics, but if you're more brushed up on it, please give me some information in the comments below. But Karen Lewis is the head of Chicago's teachers union. Her and Rahm Emanuel, who is the mayor of Chicago, have had many well-publicized brush-ins with each other. They do not get along. It's been all kind of stuff with contracts for the union. It was one story that I saw a video on, actually, of Karen Lewis talking about it. Now, you may see she's a lot bigger. Well, she had a weight loss surgery recently. I wonder who paid for that. But anyway, she was talking about how the union had a contract, and at the end of the contract, there was supposed to be a pay increase. But because her and Rahm Emanuel did not get along, did not see eye to eye as far as the having a longer school day, because he wanted to have students in school beyond 1:30, because he was saying, hey, we can't have all these hooligans, basically, all these Negroes out here. He didn't say that, but that's what he wanted to say. We can't have all these Negroes out here at 1:30 p.m. They got to stay in school. And she was like, oh, so you're trying to warehouse, you're trying to make us babysit. So what she did was really buck on them. They had an argument. They were cussing at each other. Now, I'm not sure if the pay increase didn't go through, or if the school day didn't go through, or if they're still fighting it. But it's interesting that she having a picture with this guy with a shirt on that says Chicago Vote. Maybe he's a plant used to make the situation look worse than what it is and to inflame it, to destabilize it, so she can get her raise rather than an extended school day, to undercut Rahm Emanuel. Okay. On the right side of the picture, you have the former governor of Illinois, the recent former governor. He just got unseated this year by a Republican. He's a Democrat, of course. Karen Lewis is also a liberal, but she's not a politician per se, so she's not necessarily a party affiliated, but she's obviously a liberal. Now, Pat Quinn on the right. Pat Quinn, if you remember a guy named Rod Blagojevich, who was the governor of Illinois, who actually got locked up for corruption. I think he did he got like 12 years or something. He got an extended period of time. He was actually locked up. Now, Rod Blagojevich was the governor while his lieutenant governor was Pat Quinn. So him and Pat Quinn were thick as thieves. As I'm talking, you'll see some pictures. You know, they were best friends. They were thick as thieves. It's just like having a vice president. It's just like Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden. Same deal. Now, if Barack Obama was to go to jail for corruption, you don't think that Biden will be in on it? You don't think that Biden would know what's going on? And wouldn't you object if you were a United States citizen, your president goes to jail, and then the vice president becomes a president? Well, that's what happened here. Blagojevich went to jail eventually, but before that, Pat Quinn was able to be elected in an election. Now, when Rod Blagojevich got brought up on charges, that was in 2009, when he was in the Senate for Illinois. Now, it was a race going on in 2009 as well, if I'm not mistaken. And Pat Quinn was still able to win that race. Okay. So I think Pat Quinn was the governor from 2003 to 2015 when the Democrat Ronner got in office. Okay, so you got some deep political stuff going on here. Pat Quinn and Rahm Emanuel were kind of tight. They were thick as thieves, literally thick as thieves, two corrupt politicians. And Rahm Emanuel, I'm going to touch on him right quick. I'm not, like I say, I'm not necessarily the authority on Chicago politics, but didn't Barack Hussein Obama install him into Chicago as a mayor when he became the president of the United States? How does that work? Like, how do you install a mayor of a city when you're the president of the United States? How does the federal government interfere with local matters like on that level? But that's what happened, or something to that effect happened. But Pat Quinn and Rahm Emanuel have had a strange relationship from what I've been able to read so far. They have had their ups and downs. I think I read an article recently that said Emanuel backs Quinn, but Quinn doesn't return the favor. Just little stuff. It was a guy that was on Pat Quinn's staff that got a position at a place, and Emanuel didn't like it. See, this is just politics. It's all politics. This is exactly what I talk about all the time. They're playing games with you. Don't you see it? This guy, this stare down boy, is a fraud. He's bought and paid for. He has his orders from his Democrat masters. For somebody who is so anti-establishment and anti-police, he sure is hugged up mighty close and tight to two high-ranking people that control the police. If you're so anti this, anti that, why are you so hugged up on all over Karen Lewis, who probably gave you a terrible education, right? You might not even be from Chicago. You might not even be from the area that you're in there, quote unquote, protesting. You might come in from the suburbs as an intern to try and be a politician yourself and be dirty, just like Rob Blagojevich, who actually went to jail, right? And if you read comments on some of these, like Chicago Tribune's website, you'll know that everyone thinks that these people, all of them, including the boy, are corrupt and phony. It also brings me to Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is also corrupt, similar to Chicago politics. Really, having Black Lives Matter in Chicago is a marriage made in heaven, because you have two corrupt political factions. One just has obviously real power politically, and the other one has the bully pulpit. They have the power of being able to, shake down, kind of like Al Sharpton. They got criminal power. Whereas the people in Chicago, the politicians like Karen Lewis and Pat Quinn and Rahm Emanuel, and before Robert Blagojevich got locked up, him too, they have real power. They have the ability to change policy, to change the way you live and how you go about your life. So yeah, Lamon Reccord, total fraud, bought and paid for, just like D. Ray McKesson, Sean King. That's all I got to say. Subscribe, rate, share. Peace.